What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Improvement for Imbeciles podcast. I'm your podcast host, Natalie Etched, and today, y'all, this episode is not easy to make. We're talking about wanting to go back to an ex or a situation that is no longer meant for you, and you know it's not meant for you anymore, but you still crave it. You still want to go back to it. We're going to be talking about your ex reaching out. We're going to be talking about no contact. We're going to be talking about all of it. And if you're new here, this is where I share ways in which I'm getting my shit together so that you can get your shit together. You guys, it's Mercury retrograde. And I mentioned that not to go on an astrology rant or anything, but basically Mercury retrograde is when everyone's ex spins the block, everyone has feelings for their ex again all of a sudden, people get back into relationships they know they're not supposed to be in, and it doesn't matter if you believe in Mercury retrograde. I'm just saying that to say, put a finger down if your ex texted you. Yeah, I put my finger down. My ex recently reached out to me, and when I tell you guys, all of these realizations started coming up for me, and I started to feel things that I didn't think I still felt anger for. I didn't still think I resented this situation. All of these things came up for me, and I decided to share them with you today because I know you guys have been there before. And if you're gonna lie to me and say, well, I really don't relate to you, then bestie, go to another channel. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm not one to hold back on telling you guys the nitty-gritty details of like my own thought processes and how I was able to get to a better mental state, because honestly, when this person reached out to me, the first thing I felt was resentment. So if you're clicking on this video and your ex reached out to you, or even if your ex hasn't reached out to you, I really want to hit on this feeling of resentment that when an ex reaches out, you're bothered by it. You're pissed off almost. Because this person is a reminder of who you used to be. And it's not that you're not over a situation. Oftentimes people will be like, well, obviously you wouldn't be having that reaction if you weren't over it. It doesn't mean you're not over that person. It just means it's a reminder of the person you used to be. Because when this person reached out, I didn't really have any emotional ties to this situation. I'm the type of person that I deal with my emotions right up front. However, there was a deeper layer to it that I wasn't really seeing, and that is this person is a reminder of how far I've come to build myself up to this point. Sometimes you've put so much time into building yourself to the person you are now that when someone from your past reaches out to you, it's not that you still miss them, it's just a reminder of who you used to be and why you weren't good enough at that period of time in your life. It's this feeling of like, well, why didn't you want me then? Why do you want me now? Or it's this illusion, because you don't even know if this person wants you now. They might genuinely just be checking in on you. But what you're not understanding is the dynamic that they still have all of the power in your brain. You put this person on a pedestal that they did not ask for, and you essentially abandon yourself in the process as you put this person on a pedestal. In the relationship, in the situation, whatever it is, this person was on a pedestal in your mind. Even though you're over the situation, that person still has that place on the pedestal in some way or another. And what I had to realize with myself is a lot of the self-growth I've done has been out of spite of that situation. I'm the type of person where when something hurts me, I take everything of what this person did to me and I turn it into spite to drive me to be the best version of myself. I'll use all of that as motivation to push me to the next level. And does it work? Absolutely. But does it mean that sometimes my motivation doesn't really come from the best of places? Yeah. And so when this person reached out to me, I recognized that the reason why I was so angry was because in some ways I was giving them credit for where I am now, despite the fact that they had nothing to do with it. They were just the starting point. They were just the spark that really got me going and got me to this place I'm at now. So I want you to start asking yourself what this person or this situation signifies in your life. Because what I had to do was I had to recognize that this person was reflecting back to me a version of myself where I didn't feel confident, I didn't feel worthy, and I didn't feel as feminine, honestly. I felt like I definitely had a little bit of wounded feminine qualities to me, but that was just my own interpretation. Just ask yourself what this person means to you in your life, because when I thought of one word that this person in my life signified, it was stupidity. Like, I know that sounds really mean, but like, this person made me feel stupid. When someone reaches out to you who signified you feeling stupid, whatever they did that made you feel unlovable, unworthy, naive, like an idiot, like you just put all of this energy into someone and they just took it and threw it away and stomped on you, you need to start to decode it and actually recognize the situation for what it was. Because what I was realizing is I was taking accountability for actions that weren't even in my control. I can't control what this person did or how this person treated me. What I can control is the pedestal I placed them on. And obviously it was still there in some way or another, because when this person reached out to me, my first response was anger, and also I was kind of happy. I know this sounds a little bit weird, guys, but like if your ex reached out to you, did you feel happy? Did you feel like, wow, like they finally reached out to me. They must care so much about me. They just couldn't stand to be away from me. They just care about me for who I truly am, blah, blah, blah. They're thinking about me as much as I'm thinking about them, blah, blah, blah. Even if you weren't thinking about them, like in my case, I honestly genuinely was not thinking about this person, but when they reached out, all of a sudden, I felt really happy because I was just like, yeah, they see what they missed out on. It was all my ego that was coming up. It was all of the wounding that was coming up from this situation of when I did place them on that pedestal. So when you call it for what it is, that you are still attached in some way to having this person on a pedestal, even if you've grown from it, even if now you're working on yourself and you're at this different point in life, you need to start acknowledging the parts of this situation that you took accountability for when it was not your fault, to compensate for the lack of closure, if there was a lack of closure in that situation. For example, you might have felt like if this person abandoned you, that they abandoned you because of you, right? You think it's more of like a personal attack, but you're not adding in your opinion into the equation. You're not remembering all the things that this person did that you didn't like about the situation. You're not keeping that at the forefront of your mind. All you're remembering is whatever you did to elicit a response from them that made them leave, or vice versa, whatever they did to you that made you leave. So in my situation, I was the one that walked away. However, this person was entertaining their ex. To me, this elicited all of these feelings of comparison, of this person was just trying to relive his ex through me. Like, that's how I was feeling in this situation. And it made me feel so inadequate because of that pedestal I placed this person's opinion on. Because of my mental gymnastics I was playing with myself, of me trying to find a reason within me that I wasn't good enough. Sometimes you need to call out your own BS for what it is. It's not that you weren't good enough, it's that they weren't good enough. They sabotaged it for themselves. You're the one that's doing the picking. You're the one that's saying who can and cannot be in your life. And so even if you intuitively know that, when this person reaches back out to you, it's a reminder of when you used to be in that pick me energy, when you used to be in that proving energy of trying to prove to this person that you are worthy of their love. It's like, why didn't you want me before? Why do you want me now? Why do you want me now when I'm so focused on myself and what I'm doing? And I'm gonna be a little harsh here, but it's necessary, okay? You cannot make someone love you. You cannot give to someone and manipulate someone into loving you back, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's manipulation, because you're not loving this person because you genuinely love them. You're just loving the idea of them loving you the way you cannot love yourself. And so when this person reached out to you again, all of those feelings of the ways you abandon yourself come up. It's like you're abandoning yourself all over again because subconsciously you were wanting a text from them. All of these hobbies and things you started doing for yourself and this self-care was all motivated by the fact that you were trying to fill the void they left. When they left your life, they left a void, and you were trying to fill that void with all of these things you've been distracting yourself with. And that might not have been a conscious thing, but now that you are aware of it, and now that they're reaching back out again because you're focusing on you, it feels like you no longer have a reason to continue doing what you're doing. They are now taking up all of your mental space all of a sudden again. You're waiting for a text back because you're looking for closure. You are replaying the situation over and over again to find a new level of closure, to find what you did wrong, to see what ways in which you can poke out flaws within you, when in reality, you guys were both flawed. There was no resolution for anything. It's just it didn't work, whether that was timing, whether that was compatibility, who knows? It's just not working. And so I really do want to talk about the aspect of closure for a second. Most of the time, closure is an illusion, okay? Closure is a dream that people sell to comfort them from the idea that this person will never be in your life the same way again. When you have the feeling of needing closure from another person, it's because you have an inability to take action and remove yourself from places that you are no longer wanted. You are no longer wanted in that way. They don't want you as a relationship. They don't want you as a person who's serious about where they're going in life. They want you to be unaware of the power within you so they can continue to drain your energy. And this isn't a conscious thing either, but you need to recognize the power dynamics. You need to recognize and remind yourself of the pedestal you placed them on, because that pedestal you placed them on automatically made you lower. It automatically made you abandon yourself. And so when you feel all this anger, it's because you're realizing how much you still have that person placed on a pedestal, even if it's in a different way, even if it's because you're doing all of these things in order to spite this person, in order to make them jealous, in order to do whatever you're trying to do, even if it's just, I want to become the best version of myself, so I'm going to use what happened to me as motivation. Yes, that's a positive thing to do, and I do think you should continue to use negative situations to motivate you. However, you also have to be consciously aware of when it's necessary to let a situation go. Wishing that you never met this person is a manifestation of all of the pain that you felt through that situation, a manifestation of all of the pain that you want them to feel. So when you let this person back in your life, when you start texting this person again, all of a sudden you're thinking about ways that you can one-up them. You're thinking about ways that you can hurt them like how they hurt you. You might assume that the pain they caused you was intentional. And I need you to recognize that whether intentional or not, you have to have your own moral compass and you have to know what's right and wrong for you. What you must realize is what other people do has nothing to do with your character. It has stuff to do with their character. When someone reveals their true character, we often feel like they did what they did because of us and because we are not worthy. But that is so extremely backwards. That is so extremely backwards because the reality is this person is acting that way because of their own hurt, because of whoever hurt them in the past. And that doesn't mean you need to forgive them or, minimize what they did because they have a past and they were hurt before too. That doesn't mean they don't need to still take accountability and recognize their part in it. However, when you can take perspective and recognize where someone's hurt comes from, you can stop taking what they did and their own BS so personal, and you can finally start kicking them off the pedestal that you've placed them on. Stop invalidating your need to feel valid. Stop invalidating the fact that you do want to text them. You do want to make them realize how they did wrong. You do want to make them see your value. These are all valid things to do. However, you need to use your own discernment of if this person is even due a conversation with you. Genuinely start asking yourself, what would you do if you respected yourself? Because I promise you, some people are not due a conversation. They're not due forgiveness. They're not due any of those things because you had to get through this on your own. You had to build yourself up on your own. Even if you did use what they did to you as motivation to get you to where you are now, that's still a part of your story. Do they deserve a place in your life or not? And to pivot this talk, I really want to talk about cycles repeating. Every time I've gone back to an ex situation or, let someone back in my life who I intuitively knew I shouldn't let back in my life, I have always learned a lesson from it every single time. And this is a hot take, but I'm gonna say it. Sometimes we're meant to doubt ourselves. Sometimes we're not meant to know where we're supposed to be in life. Sometimes we're meant to let that person back in our life and let them screw us over again because we're not ready to go to the next level. So with that being said, when people come back into your life, when you're doing really, really good for yourself, oftentimes it's a test from God, from the universe, from whatever you believe in. Oftentimes it's a test of if you've truly learned your lesson. This is the only way way I can really put it. Because every time I feel like I'm about to level up my life, I always feel like people from the past come back. Past situations come up to haunt me in a sense. And it's not that they're haunting you, it's that it's just reminding you of past versions of yourself so that you're tested of like, are you really the person you are today? Or are you just convincing yourself that you're the person you are today? Are you still back in those paradigms? Have you done the work to be at the place you're at with your self-confidence? Or are you going to revert back to a smaller version of yourself? Are you going to crawl back into that box that's super, super tiny for you just because it's familiar, just because it's what you know? Identify if you're going back to a situation with the intent to actually grow, or if you're going back to a situation because you're going backwards. We don't go backwards here. We go forwards. The only time I'd say you should take back an ex is if you guys are both at different places in your life than when you guys left off with each other. You are two completely different people. You're not even the same person you used to be. You know, like this person isn't even the same person they used to be. And you guys are coming together and learning who you are now. If there's still not enough time that has gone by, nothing has changed. Best, you need to wake up to the fact that literally nothing has changed from this person. This person is still in their same BS. They're going to do the same thing to you, and you are going to do the same thing to yourself, and you're going to abandon yourself again. You're going to abandon yourself again. If you keep going back to someone, wake up to the fact that you are abandoning yourself. Like, stop seeing it as this person is manipulating you and start seeing it as you are abandoning yourself. Because the second you do that, the second that you start taking personal responsibility, especially if that person was fully kicked out of your life and you're just choosing to go back to that situation because it's comfortable to you, start to uncover your own intentions and start to uncover your own attachments to this. What part of you is being reflected through this situation? Because everything is a reflection. Even this person reaching out to me, I could have come on here and told you guys advice that was, you know, like, well, if an ex reaches out to you, it's because they want something from you and blah, 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 blah. Most of the times, people genuinely just want to see how you're doing. Oftentimes, I don't think people have negative intentions with you. However, I do need you to recognize that some people will never change. They're never going to be the person you want them to be. You need to be that person for yourself. Whether they step up to the plate or not, you need to learn that some people are not meant to be in your life, even as a friend. Like, maybe you need to ask yourself, is what they did to me something that I would even be able to forgive? Or would I still have this outdated version of them in my mind because of how deeply they hurt me? Because for me, that was the answer. Like, I didn't want to talk to this person because I honestly couldn't forgive them. I honestly didn't want them in my life because it showed about their character. Start building discernment with yourself. Like, when people reach out to you, recognize that sometimes not everyone has the best intentions. I know you have the best intentions. You might genuinely be reaching out because you recognize something about yourself. You want to take accountability. But let me just tell you, you're never going to have to force an apology out of anyone. If someone wants to apologize to you from the heart and it's a genuine apology, they are going to say their piece and they are going to say it authentically. They're not going to ask you, hey, you should come over. They are just seeing if you're still in the place that they left you. And the answer is, you're not. You're not in that place anymore, so don't act like it. To go back to like Mercury retrogrades though, I feel like it's just phenomena happen in life and there are cycles that kind of repeat itself. Life is just a huge cycle. So people will come back every once in a while to see if you're still the person that they used to know. And the real question is, are you going to pass the test? Are you going to show the universe that you are not who you used to be, that you have evolved, and that you are ready for the highest timeline of your life? Like, that's literally how you need to think about it. I know that seems very woo-woo or whatever, but like, genuinely start thinking about people from your past coming back and checking in and whatever. Especially like the people who did you wrong. Maybe don't think about like good people like this, but especially people who did you wrong coming back from the past to haunt you of like, have you learned your lesson? Have you actually learned your lesson, or are you just pretending like you learned your lesson because secretly you're trying to manifest them back? Because secretly you're uncomfortable uncomfortable with growth. You're uncomfortable looking at yourself. And the last thing I want to talk about is when you want to go back to a situation you know is not good for you, it is because you are resisting growth. It is because you are resisting yourself. You have a deep attachment to the past, and it's a delusional attachment too, because you assume that the past is better than the future. Like, you assume that this situation is all that is meant for you. And you need to call it for what it is. Like, sometimes you need to be like, I'm valuing my delusional attachment over the future I see for myself. Like, I don't see that far out into the future. I don't know what the cards hold. So why are you thinking so small? Like, you are thinking so small that you have to go back to the past and think about how great things used to be. They weren't even that great. You can pick out flaws that you saw in that relationship or situation or whatever it is. You can find flaws. Instead of hyper-focusing on all the good times and being super nostalgic, I need you to start hyper-focusing on all the bad times. Like, sometimes it's literally how you have to do it in order to get over a situation. Even if you're like, oh, well, there weren't really that many bad times. That's also okay that there weren't that many bad times. Sometimes it was just a time in your life, and it's okay to look back on something and accept that that's where you used to be, but you are here now. Really lean into this idea that everything happens for a reason, and the things you're going through now are preparing you for what you are about to experience. You can't go backwards. You can only go forward. Stop thinking of yourself so small and stop thinking of this situation as the biggest thing in your life. With that being said, you guys, thank you guys so much for tuning into the Improvement for Imbeciles podcast today. Today was a lot, okay? It was a lot because I usually don't get this vulnerable with you guys because I don't really talk about things that happen in my life, but these are all realizations I was having because I was honestly really upset about this situation I was in, and I realized, I have a whole podcast of people who've probably been through the same exact thing. So do me a favor, and if you really resonated with this podcast episode, be sure to give it a like and subscribe on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please be sure to leave a review. Share it with your friends, it really helps. Also be sure to go check out all of my social medias. They will be on the screen or in the description. Stop abandoning yourself. Stop treating yourself like your shitty ex treated you. Stop all of that. Put yourself on a pedestal and let yourself feel happy. If you feel happy that your ex texts you, like, sure, feel happy, but also make sure you don't let that person back into your life if you know they're not good for you. Like, keep that door shut because it's a test. Stay stupid, my friends. I'll see you guys next week.